Rock and roll. Hello, everyone, and everyone over here. My name is Ty Sarah. I am the Director of Operations for Source. Here in Orlando. Been here for the last 2 years or so, working with Fortune 1000s across the area. My big thing, we help people find awesome managers, and we help awesome managers find awesome people. So if you are in either one of those groups, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to help out, etc. Got my two colleagues back here. They are learning all things about security. So if you have any knowledge to drop, please drop it on them. I think that's pretty much it. There's not too much else. But yeah, I'm here to help however I can. This is an awesome community. So whether it's resume critiques or mock interviews or anything that we can do for you guys to help you get jobs, whether that is through us or not through us, I mean, we're more supporting the community itself. So we appreciate you guys come and do it. Always a lot of the time having events here, and excited to meet those of you that haven't met yet. Cool. And then one more thing, Serendipity Labs. I'll put on that hat too. They are sponsoring the space right now that we're in, co-working space. They have flexible options when it comes to co-working. So you can get like a little desk, you can come rent for a day, you can get an office. It's really nice if you're trying to scale up or down. We've been here for 2 years, have to do it a bit. Our parking garage connects to I-4, so you don't have to deal with all the crazy traffic down here. All things that are really, really nice. So if you're interested in that, come talk to me too. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. Cool. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Edna. I'm just going to tell you about a bunch of events that are coming up that you may or may not be interested in, but hope you're interested in them. First off, DC407 is doing a soldering workshop next Tuesday at FreakMe Lab. So bring badges that you have from conferences and you want to put together so you can learn to solder them, and then you can have working badges. FreakMe Lab. It's a makerspace in Longwood.
Cool.
Well, great way to get to know the makerspace community.
Right.
Yeah, right. Next month is there is an online talk. We're going to learn about secure development stuff. We have a guy from Gate Guardian who's going to be doing that talk. Then there's DEF CON coming up next month. Hopefully you're excited for that. Please come support your fellow Orlandoians there. I'm going to be competing and speaking at the Social Engineering Community Village. We've got a couple other people that are going to be speaking there. Steve is going to be hosting the RollerCon, so don't go buy a ticket to RollerCon for the High Roller. It's not an official event this year, but Florida brunch or breakfast on Thursday at Thurston Makers, like the day of DEF CON ticket buying, human registration day. So I've posted that in the DEF CON channel. It's at 9 a.m. And then there's a Florida Man party that's happening Wednesday night before DEF CON. There's a really sweet badge that Jose made and his team. It looks awesome. So if you're at DEF CON like that Wednesday, it's a good deal. They're going all out for this movie. What else? BSides Orlando is coming up. We are going to be recruiting for volunteers. We've got a lot of things going on this year. The conference is going to be in September this year, so it's September 27th. Super excited for it. We'll have workshops on Friday the day before. I am hosting the Social Engineering Adventure Village again, and I'm going to be hosting Career Village. We're going to have online career events like in the 4 weeks leading up to the conference. Yes, question. Yes, tickets are going to be on sale soon. So I think that's it for my announcements. Let's let Panda talk. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, everyone. So first off, little disclaimer, and you can see the screen share and everything like that. Good. Little disclaimer, this is not that InfoSec-y of a talk, so I'm not going to show you crazy hacking skills in this one, I guess. But still, don't do stupid stuff. You actually do see these devices being jammed in some, airports, like international airports and some other areas where you see like improvised 900 megahertz phones being used as IEDs. So, don't do stupid stuff. Don't look like you're someone bad because maybe someone will mistake you for someone bad. So intro, a little bit of myself. I'm John. I work for RedSeer Security right now. I'm the director of defensive security. We do a little bit of both, red teaming and blue teaming. I went really into the red side to understand the alerts that I was getting, back when I was doing security for a real estate company. So anyway, if you have security asks or don't understand something, just want to run something by me, please reach out. We do. You can look the company up if you want, but I'm not going to plug it. This isn't a vendor talk. Check us out. We do good stuff. So a little bit about me. I have a puppy. This is Rosie here. She comes to a lot of events around Jacksonville. So if you're up in Jacksonville, she'll come out to PhreakMe, and sometimes she'll be at stuff like BSidesJAX, another great BSides conference. I also did want to mention BSides Las Vegas. If you're out there, before DEF CON, that's another great conference. I'll be out there as well as Black Hat. So, if you want to hang out, hit me up. And yeah, at DEF CON, we'll be playing the TeleChallenge this year. So either TeleChallenge or FreakMe. We'll be going back and forth, but I really love telephones. So that's my focus at DEF CON. Volunteering at BSides, and then Black Hat, I'll be doing some training and stuff. I like to make badges at the Jacksonville Linux user group last week on some reverse engineering of electronics. When I'm at DEF CON, if you don't see me with this Panda hat at DEF CON, a lot of times I am just the full Panda. And the story behind that is that basically a lot of people doing really cool stuff at DEF CON for a long time were furries. And, we would just kind of meet up at the bar. And that turned into a chat. The chat kind of blew up over the years, and that snowballed into kind of accidental, bigger in-person events. Now we actually have tracks. We have really awesome badges. If you guys haven't seen our badges over the years, check them out. Awesome stuff. And really, it's another piece of DEF CON. We used to joke that, it would be cool one day to see like a fursuit parade through the DEF CON closing ceremonies. But now that's actually something that's happened in the past like 2 or 3 years. So it's kind of crazy. Focus of this talk today. So I'm going to talk about JAX Mesh and comms for all. So I'm not going to cover too much here, but those are both creations of mine. Basically, after I delved further into this technology, thought it was really cool. I wanted to grow the network. So that was kind of how those came from. So, why LoRa? Why Meshtastic? Why do we need something else? I would say there are a lot of situations where there isn't anything else. Whether that's a really remote hiking trail, or for me up in Jacksonville, like I like to go to Okefenokee, no signal for like an hour up there. But there's a lot of areas for whatever reason there isn't infrastructure, or if there is infrastructure, why do you have to pay someone for encrypted communications over a small area? Aren't we beyond that technologically? Yes, I think communications have become more important than they've ever been before. I would say, especially here in Florida, we know the impact of that. When a hurricane comes to town, you guys right now, I listen to a lot of like DMR radio, listen to like Florida statewide, and you'll hear stuff hit and be able to actually follow the storm up, as the storm comes. So this is really cool to hear live updates. Like, we would love to see something similar with Meshtastic, text communications, anytime as the network. Sometimes, you put this here is some buddies of mine, me, up in really remote kind of mountains, northwest of Atlanta, no signal. This was a California picture. This isn't mine, but it's a California picture that basically, they had mudslides down the side of the mountain. Could you imagine if, you had family at the top of the hill, but you can't get to them, but it happens all the time. This here is, basically an impoverished village. I was reading a couple articles that were talking about, how some places they can't afford to eat and they're trying to pay prepaid credits for data, because it's just that important to communicate with people, so anyway, this is Jacksonville, by the way. I was, when this happened, I worked on the 26th floor of this building here. So we had a fun couple months. If anyone wants to talk to me about disaster recovery, I have some very fun stories. But anyway, long story short with this slide, communications are really important. They're not always reliable as they are now. And if they are, they cost a lot of money. It's not equal access for everyone. And they're really pretty much just a basic human right now. So let's dive into some history. So talk about LoRa first. Patented in 2014. Basically, LoRa is a proprietary modulation technique, and I'll show that. I think it's the next slide shows some of the modulation. So a little bit. I don't want to spend this whole class doing math. Anyway, this LoRa technology now is owned by Semtech. That's important to note because it's a proprietary technology. So the chips and everything that are manufactured, proprietary chips, whereas the thing we're going to talk about in detail, kind of this talk, is an open source software package that's built on top of that proprietary technology. So I just want to make that distinction. It's not all open, but that's been okay so far. So max range, basically the thing that makes LoRa really interesting is that it's really resilient with low power devices to interference, and you can basically get a long range out of a small device, something like this, or even smaller in a lot of cases. So this watch actually is nice. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but the range here, this is straight off of Semtech's website. It's max range of 2 to 10 miles. 2 miles is urban, or trees or whatever else. The 10-mile maximum is like direct line of sight. And we'll actually see, I think in a slide or two, we talk about that. There's a record of like 300 and something kilometers. That was mountain to mountain. LoRaWAN, we see this off to the right. So Semtech, I don't know if it was them or the company before them that they purchased, but one of them started the LoRa Alliance. They have a big hand in it. Basically, the LoRa Alliance is the one that's over this LoRaWAN technology. I'm not going to talk about this too much in this talk, but I just want you guys to know that it exists. It's basically their communication protocol, open system architecture, and then this diagram here is from that LoRaWAN project. It kind of shows their open architecture, as well as one thing I like about this, it shows some of the end nodes. So you see some of the use cases early on. So pet tracking, smoke alarm, water meter, trash container, vending machine, gas monitoring. This is stuff that traditionally you might need a cell, based system, because it might be a mile or two out. And now there's low power options. So one computer modulation, briefly, just so you can see it. So this is traditional frequency shift keying. So you'll see that as the frequencies are shifted, it's basically binary ones and zeros, and then with chirp, basically when you chirp it, you're going up the frequency, like you're increasing the frequency during the chirp, and this is what makes it really resilient to interference. When this is actually de-chirped is what they call it, and then read back in. This is the kind of the signal broken down. So there's a preamble, which involves a bunch of up chirps, and then it synchronizes, and then it sends the data. But it's just a really unique thing. So even if you don't have that great a signal, you can still kind of get it. And then, so Meshtastic is the focus here today. I'm going to talk about Meshtastic mainly, but I do cover alternative projects at the end in brief. It was created by Kevin Hester in 2020. It is an open source project, so imagine build on top of that LoRa technology that we were talking about. There's this open source software package that you can load onto essentially what in most cases are dev devices. So this is like a LoRa smartwatch platform, as well as a lot of the radios that I have up here that I'll show you guys are dev-based devices, and they're just we're flashing a firmware on them, running Meshtastic on. But you could also, if they're popular devices, run other alternative projects. I recommend getting devices that are well supported across the different projects. So when we talk about long range, this is that 331 kilometer record is in like 2020, I think. It was at Italy, like a mountain peak to mountain peak, essentially. So direct line of sight. And they were using a special preset for it. So it wasn't super standard, but it still was basic Meshtastic gear. So obviously no phone or something. This is like basically off of their product, some of these facts, but it's essential stuff, So being decentralized, one of the big advantages of this versus just having the LoRa technology, all of these nodes cannot mesh with each other, and you can pass messages across the other nodes to form a really large mesh. So say even like an urban area, even if that max distance is only 2 miles, you get 80 or 100 nodes, you can cover a city, and all of a sudden you can send messages to your friends. It just takes having the nodes out there. And we'll get into some of the hardware stuff as well. These devices are really low power, they're really efficient, and excellent battery life. Solar nodes are very common in this project. So you can also do GPS, some GPS tracking features as well, which might be useful, say, at search and rescue, or if you're a hiker or something like that. You're just trying to keep track of people. A friend of mine's been working on a project that does some festival, like tracking people at festivals, like a big music festival. So there's a lot of use cases there. We'll go into some of those. So security is one. Off of the base Meshtastic firmware, there's like these additional modules that you can enable, and these are like default. It's like not building other ones, except for the ATAC. So within the default modules, you have the option of connecting a detection sensor to your dead board, and basically having it tell you when whatever door was open, or someone climbed the fence, or whatever thing it is. So you can apply that very easily to a security context, and create maybe a perimeter that maybe it's a couple miles where you would previously have to use cell for that. You can just use the base Meshtastic project, base radios, and you're literally just soldering on your sensor. Automation there's no specific for this, but I just want to call it out because we see automation use cases pretty common now. Like one of the big ones is like farm, automation of watering crops, detection of different water levels to those crops and stuff like that. Where it's a large physical radius that they have to cover. Wi-Fi isn't going to work, but Meshtastic's a really good fit. And LoRa, there's a lot of companies that were developing. I want to point something out. It's like there's a lot of companies that were developing kind of proprietary LoRa solutions, and Meshtastic's coming along, and it can do kind of all these things out of the box. Assuming everything works, and it's pretty well now. Basically, the big thing holding this project up is just educating people, because it has so many different ways that it could be applied in the real world that it's almost hard to explain to people without going to a talk like this. And we have some time together. The elevator pitch, it's almost too complex, and people think it's just text messaging. But it can be more than that. Telemetry. So for telemetry, there's like device metrics, so like battery, different basically device name, serial, and stuff like that. There's all your device metrics. There's like GPS data. So if you have a GPS connected, that can be sending telemetry data however often you would like, as well as there's built-in modules for like health telemetry data. So think a smartwatch type thing, where you can have a heart rate, or blood pressure, data you want to do. Human comms, so we'll talk about that a little more in detail, but it offers up to AES 256 encrypted communications radio to radio just between people. And it does asymmetric key exchanges for literate messages now, which is kind of cool. ATAC, so if you guys aren't familiar, that's like, it's like tactical awareness kit. The military uses it a bunch. There's actually tech resources out there. They're used by a lot of like emergency responders and other teams that are trying to coordinate either security or search and rescue or whatever other operations, so they can keep track of everyone who's responding. And this isn't specifically like a Meshtastic thing, but those are some of the devices they can use in those systems. MQTT, so that's like standard message queuing. So if you have a project that you're coding and you want to use this, you can integrate, MQTT and MQTT across the mesh. So it's a great way to do stuff, and that's actually what's used a lot of times for these mapping projects. I'll show you guys a mapping project in a little bit. You send MQTT messages to his interface, and it'll basically you'll be able to represent your node map on his more larger maps. So talk about hardware for a second, and I have a bunch of stuff up here. I'll show you guys on camera some of this stuff in a minute. But basically, this is one of the devices that's really popular. It's actually this guy right here. So it's a Heltec V3, and you can see that they're pretty much dev products. Like this is a development that has LoRa chip on it. It's got GPIO that you can solder to. By default, it comes with an antenna, but I actually brought a couple bare boards too.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, perfect. Yep. So, but very simple little dev board. You've basically, there's three things that make it standard. It's not rocket science or anything crazy. It's a battery, and that can vary on size of the battery. It's a case, and that can be whatever you want. You can design something, or there's open source options. Showed all of them here. So This is MusiWorks, and in this case here was designed by GatorByte. I just added the Panda and the tag in the back to hold it. You know, you basically can print your own case, grab a dead board, battery, grab put together your own device. One of the things you can do is check what's supported. There's kind of DIY devices, which are a little bit more modified, or custom firmware. And then there's kind of the base support for a lot of these dead boards in the Meshtastic project. You can actually go to this flasher, .meshtastic.org, and that'll show you what devices are. There's a bunch of devices here at the bottom that I'm showing off. That this watch is this LilyGo S3 watch. It's a ESP32X3 base platform, Meshtastic chip on it. This T keyboard's pretty much the same thing, just in a different package with a bigger battery. I have one of those as well to show. There's solar nodes, as I was mentioning before. So there's a lot of different varieties of solar nodes that can go on top of the building or tree, or various. They're deployed in all kinds of scenarios. Rack makes really good boards. The distance record was with RedSeer. And then if you guys have, I don't know if anyone here is developing their own circuits or badges. If you want to play with this stuff, RayX makes some really good modules, as well as Seed Studio. Seed Studio makes some really nice system on chip Meshtastic LoRa nodes. So you can integrate those in your circuits, like your projects or whatever else, and basically build a custom Meshtastic firmware that has a module that does whatever else you want to do in the batch. So you can customize it, and it'll do the Meshtastic thing plus whatever else your ESP32 is. Software-wise, so to interact with these devices, first off, there's an app. That's the main thing. I would say that keyboard-based devices, they came out with a better UI for them more recently. However, it leaves a lot to be desired. For instance, there's no emoji support, so emojis just turn blank right now. Since one of the devices are Panda, even this text device supports emojis on the front screens. They'll get there. It took a while for this watch to work well. It does work well now. I definitely recommend it now, other than the really bad battery life. It's only a couple hours, super small battery. There was a time where this was almost completely unresponsive. Overnight firmware update made it actually reliable. So this project is very much still in active development. But going back to the keyboard point, basically I would stay away from keyboard devices right now, or at least have a third device with you that you can fall back on using the app. The app's just a nicer experience, in my opinion, right now. If you have a really dedicated use case, you might like the keyboard interface, but it's they're still to interface with any of these devices. You can plug them into your computer. There's a really great Python library for them. So if you want to write custom code to do whatever, it's actually pretty simple. Your device retains all your settings. So as you go through and set it up, it's going to save those settings, reboot. And if you save channels on it within Python, you don't even have to do send any kind of encryption keys or anything like that. It's literally just, channel 1, send a message, because it's already defined and saved within the radio. So super easy to interface with. And then if you are building, also JavaScript as well, I want to call that out. And then I'll do a ton of JavaScript stuff, but it's there. There's also, if you're working with the modules directly, it's just UART and it's AT commands to interact with the modules. And at that point, you can load custom Meshtastic firmware that you customized. Or if you wanted to just build your own technology, maybe you don't need Meshtastic. It's a little bit of bloat, you know, and you just want to make a remote control thing and use LoRa. It's pretty easy to do. So I want to tell you guys kind of the story. So the way I started with Meshtastic, there's this group at DEF CON, Darknet NG, and they've been making mesh badges, like custom, you know, homegrown mesh badges. Wow. And they were really awesome. A couple years ago, Gatorbyte decided to try something different, and he basically went like, you guys are going to make your own badges. And he put together resources, and he was like, hey, you know, buy, you know, a dev board, here's some resources for that, you know, buy a battery, here's an open source case that you guys can customize, here's some YouTube videos that will show you customize it if you want to throw your name on it or something. But it was really cool because, like, before the con, you could build your own badge for their group, and really it opened up a lot of creativity. So, like, not just other filaments and stuff, but like people modded the heck out of their stuff. It's really cool to see when we got to DEF CON. So the bad news is Meshtastic was not great at that point. So when I got to DEF CON, there was a bunch of nodes came online. We're estimating around 400, but at the time, the largest Meshtastic network in the world was only about 80 nodes. So it broke the network pretty hardcore. My badge, if I boot it now, like I can actually charge it and boot it, but it will basically boot to here. I don't know if you guys can see on the share, but it says app says 111 nodes. Can anyone confirm that? And then it hard crashes and it stops responding. So I could probably flash it with the newer version of Meshtastic, but I think it's kind of cool, just as a little souvenir that it does that. And anyway, I didn't think too much about the technology after that. It's like, this is early. It's, you know, doesn't really work yet. So I wrote it off. Me and my buddy switched back to using our, you know, DMR radios on analog simplex, you know. So that was 2023. 2024, oh my gosh. So the radio got a little smaller, same exact DIY approach. Gatorbyte, you know, running Darknet NG, same thing. He designed a new guide, as well as a new open source case for everybody to customize. But the firmware had come far enough that, and I've been told that they took notes from the previous DEF CON because there was so many nodes out there that they basically learned from that, rewrote part of the routing algorithm, as well as some of the other backend code, and were able to make it just super stable in that year. And getting into DEF CON, you know, kind of just saw the node count going up, and I was expecting it to eventually crash out. And I was maintaining probably about 700 nodes or so that I could see, but I think there was about 1,200 unique that I tracked. And, you know, it's just crazy to see how many devices were actually out there, and to be anywhere on the strip and be able to message. And my buddy back at Caesars, you know, get that. So it was the moment that it just clicked, and I'm like, oh wow, this thing actually works. It's real, you know. So there's also funny waypoints, you know. Someone made like Deer Park over here, all kinds of funny stuff because it's DEF CON. But yeah, so I was actually so impressed with the technology that at TeleChallenge, I ended up doing a shower room just to tell people about this first Meshtastic talk. But it was just really like, hey guys, this stuff is going to blow up. It's good. And we've seen that promised land in some cities right now. So Chicago is a good example I like to use. There's a couple of them though, obviously the Bay Area out in California, some of the larger cities. Honestly, it was surprising too. Sometimes the ham groups have picked it up and embraced it, and you'll see like all the node names, their ham call sign. Yeah, so like in the Carolinas, a couple like somewhat smaller cities even that were like that. It was really cool to see the node density from those. Chicago is one of the denser ones that I've been to, and you can actually you can ping someone south of downtown, so it's got some real reach and reach that just the amount of nodes. So I think each one 2 to 10 miles.
You can see it, right? Like outliers. How's it reaching out to those?
Yeah,
that much distance. That's crazy.
It depends on how much interference is in between. But yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just the node density. Once it gets to a certain point, everything is meshed, and you can send messages across that mesh. Yeah. And then this is my actual little map of the Panda for the Chicago network when I was there. They also have a really great website. This is a live kind of like tracking project. I believe it does use MQTT as well. It says MQTT root right there, so most likely, yeah, it is. Or you can self-report it, it looks like, too.
You know what the node density is in line?
Honestly, I don't. I haven't seen too many nodes here, but there might be little pockets. So, and that's the thing is like, yeah, I hope so. If the cool thing about this technology and the reason I'm so excited to like try it is because every node that goes up, if someone keeps their node online, it's literally expanding.
Yes.
Huh? Exactly. Yeah. It literally grows the network. So every single one, fills in a little gap or helps out. It's like, we can't do it alone, but together we make something really cool.
You don't need a license at all.
No, in the US it runs at 915. So that it's the ISN, I think is what the name is of that band. But it's been regulated. It's the same stuff that the 900 megahertz phones ran in as well. But you can also run it. I think it's like 450 or something. There's a ham band that you can run on as well in the US. But I don't recommend it because if you're using those radios, like, don't run it as licensed operator. So even if you have your ham license, if you turn licensed operator on, it's the FCC's rules where you can't use encryption. So like you want to keep, it sounds like it's going to unlock a feature, it removes the feature, and encryption's a big one. So yeah, if you play with it, make sure you keep, unless you have a reason to try it out. So I wanted to list a couple cool projects. So like this awesome Meshtastic list. This here is just kind of like the standard GitHub list where someone's made a bunch of cool resources and everyone's kind of contributing to it. I've contributed a couple. They just contribute to the project and get. I don't see a need to like recreate the wheel. I like stuff where we can collaborate, and kind of all contribute. So I've been supporting that project as best I can and telling people about it because it's a great place to go and like learn about some of this stuff. This I wanted to call out. I haven't used it personally, but this is on my list of things to do. They recreated a traditional BBS with Meshtastic, and it's really cool because you can actually check it for messages and everything. I am going to run a server. It's really good. This here is a Florida mesh map. So the URL for it is map are you meshing with .us US. Yeah, are you meshing with us? And it's actually, they didn't make the project. The project is by Liam Cottle. So that's his website there, liamcottle.com. But they're hosting the Florida map. And they also have, I think, I don't want to misspeak. I think they either have a Signal or a Discord. But they do have a group as well. And you can see there's nodes being submitted from all over the state. So in the Orlando area in here, this recent fixture. It's 36, but that's only what is being submitted to MQTT. So if there's a node that's kind of orphaned outside of that, that's some kind of good. So things I've been doing since that show, I basically took some Meshtastic project and I wanted to start a local group. Like I was saying, I don't want to recreate the wheel of this stuff. I don't something I really can contribute to, and if someone already has that thing, then let's use that. So I made like a fancy interface essentially for the awesome Meshtastic resources. That's the spokes on here. And I host monthly meetups. So the monthly meetups are just at a coffee shop in Jacksonville. If you guys don't have local meetups here, some in Panda area, I recommend starting them. You know, someone should check it out if there isn't stuff. Like I think that the technology is kind of at a point where you can't just show someone a piece of paper to explain what it does. If you show them the thing and can send a message, then it clicks. But you know, it's really having those meets has been huge for us, and I've been so learned because everyone has a there's a ton of different ways to go stuff. So I've also been doing some reach locally. I'm trying to educate the ham group in JAX, and then also hopefully piggyback on some of their tower locations, because like they have some really good, you know, space and power with their repeaters. So, you know, if you can get in there, you know, like adding a Meshtastic node is nothing compared to the ham gear. So that's what I'm working on in JAX, and I definitely recommend that approach for other places. If we can educate the traditional radio guys, show them value, awesome. One thing I do, and I take the kind of net idea from traditional radio, is during Mesh Monday in Jacksonville, I've been broadcasting messages to kind of just, you know, form a net and allow people to respond back. Right now, it's been just people at the coffee shop. But as the mesh grows, you know, it could ping out all over the city. So the idea is that eventually there's going to be one night a month that, you know, there's messages going out all over the city. You can respond from where. And then I want to log that and, you know, basically put that out there. People know their messages are heard. Made a quick start. This was actually related to one of the CTFs that I was hosting. And I made it in a way that, you know, it's just a really good, in general, quick start. So if you have iOS, you just kind of want to see how the app works real quick. It's, I think, like 3 minutes or something. It's pretty short, and gets to the point, shows you how to do a bunch of stuff. The comps for all, the brand, basically it's two things. Like, I don't care about making money off of assembling radio for you. Honestly, I don't care about making money with the company really at all. I'm trying to get the technology out there. If you want to buy a radio from me, that's cool. If you want to go assemble your own stuff, that's cool. If you just want to come to meetups, you know, and hang out and Meshtastic stuff, I think that's really awesome too. I need some kind of official company, you know, to basically be able to do some of the outreach and education that I've been doing. So, for instance, like this shirt that I'm wearing, helped at the NCAA Cyber Games. I ran a Meshtastic CTF as part of their games. So, you know, that's like the stuff I really enjoy doing is that kind of outreach where I can not only teach people about the technology, but help them have fun with it. And, you know, really just help get radios. So one of the things I'm doing with For All is buy one, give one. Basically, if you do buy radios from me, I've had a lot of students that I interact with, as well as just people who are kind of coming in cybersecurity, curious about the technology, but don't really know a bunch of resources. we allow people to buy like a discounted second radio, and then I'll donate that radio to those people as they come. There's a form they can fill out, apply. I've donated between that program and myself probably like 20 radios so far. So yeah, it's cool just to see, like I was saying before, radio gets out there, it grows the net, and hopefully spark someone's curiosity to do something cool with it. So there's a lot of people who loop back around, and then I'll see them at other conventions or at my meets, stuff like that. So, and then open source software. So for those contests, we've developed software. It's all Dockerized. It's Python backend and basically it's designed to be able to manage a bunch of channels and send out contest messages. So it's a little specialized, but like I want to basically clean it up, package it up, and then open source it in a way that I'm not like the gatekeeper to Meshtastic challenges. If someone wants to reskin it and host their own, they can do it easily. Because I think that's a lot to coordinate, is trying to send all these messages, over the mesh, trying to figure out timing and stuff like that. It was a pain without infrastructure. So I want to make that easier for everyone else. So there's some of my projects. This is an example of the Mesh Monday net. So right now, this is a manual process where we actually go through and, like I'll have my contest infrastructure send this one out, I think, every 15 minutes. And then I'll just acknowledge as they come in. And then I record it through my infrastructure. So that's the thing. Right now, no. However, like the sending of the messages, just the chats. Kind of open one, like, hey guys, that one is. But I don't have the responses coming back being logged in an automatic way. I'm working on that. That's kind of the next piece of the software that I'm coming out with. And the question is, it'll probably be after the con because I'm a little busy. But the goal is to have it done soon because I don't like doing the manual pieces of me. So that's good motivation for me anyway. It'll get done soon, probably within like about a month or so. And I want to put that out there too, because I think that's a like fun, simple thing that we could do to like helps people who are new with their radios and don't know if they're working, and like just want some communications. Because a lot of people are just yeah. But also like it just helps kind of grow it's kind of cool if that network grows, you get much further out. So definitely look for an automated version of this soon for me. And it'll probably be the same infrastructure I was saying before. So Python, Docker, React. So this is just a kind of pictures I'll walk you through and some facts about the Meshtastic CTFs that I've run. Obviously, don't pull it up. I have the QR code is a link to an interview I did during the games. We had 12 teams. This is the UCF team. They honestly crushed it, and the 12 teams were nationwide. So Hackett UCF is really good. I heard that Horse Plinko is their main advantage. That's what a lot of them told me. So, being able to make their own games. So I thought that was really cool. It's if you make your own game, of course you're going to be better at playing games. So made these radios for it. This is a screenshot of the contest infrastructure, and then basically NCAA Cyber Games. That's run by Mike DC. It has a huge hand in it. So big shout out to him and the Red Team Village. He's one of my coworkers hanging with these guys because it's a lot of fun participating. The other events where I've held Meshtastic CTFs right now in companies, conventions, which also, if you have any questions or are curious about, HackSpaceCon at the Kennedy Space Center and nearby, and those happened this year already. But if you haven't checked us out, definitely check us out next year. There's the awesome events. So what does a Meshtastic CTF look like? Essentially, I have a combination of different puzzles. It could be stuff that's geo-based. So when we start the game, I want to establish kind of private comms with people. So I want to make sure that they're on site, and aren't just someone in another part of the city somehow playing CTF. So I do that in two ways. Like I lead in with a puzzle that looks really weird, but not super suspicious. To someone, who just sees it, they might be like, oh, well, that's weird, but to a hacker, it could mean more than that. And as you dig in, you begin to find geo coordinates and hints that'll draw you in to the next channel, which is then, a more secure channel. You're off of that public channel. But that's something that I didn't mention in the previous slides, but it's good to mention. So these radios, by default, they have a primary channel. That primary channel, or longcast if you're using Android, longcast 0, it's on every radio by default. It's just a and it's kind of the you just want to queue up and talk to people. Anyone on the mesh, unless they specifically deleted that channel, is going to get those messages. Kind of, yeah. Yeah, it's just like lame. So, but on the back end, it's still encrypted. It's just has the same key. And then, as I pull people into this challenge, I teach them to use the radios a little bit, through different tasks. And then I like teaching people about hacker culture and different technologies and stuff that I like. So I actually work in reverse to figure out a lot of the puzzle stuff, where I'll think about what I want to teach, and like lately a lot of that, part of it's hacker culture stuff. So like there's a lot of people who haven't seen Hackers, or Sneakers, or like any of these like super classic hacking movies. You're at HackRedCon, like anyway. Oh yeah. There's so much stuff on but yeah, I like teaching about technologies that I like, and the stuff that just the next generation needs to be exposed to, whether it's a weird crypto puzzle or just something cool from Hackers or Sneakers or whatever else. And these are from the README. The next projects. So let's talk about automating the Mesh Monday net. That's definitely high on my to-do list. Probably the first thing that's done. Custom Meshtastic badge. I have some of those modules already. I've been working on ESP32S3 based project. I'm trying to customize the Meshtastic firmware right now, and be able to run kind of my own ESP code, as well as the Meshtastic stuff on top. It's really easy though. If you look at the firmware on Meshtastic's project, you just kind of add your own stuff to there. So anyway, that's in progress. So Comms for All soon will have very unique radios, not just kind of someone else on the dead board. And I'm working on a couple different designs. So the first one will probably be like really furry, so just be aware of that. It could be a big paw print or something, just because I want to make something that's cool. But there's going to be a lot of other designs as well. Also mentioned the open source contest infrastructure already. One of the projects I've had on my mind, like a pet protector. So like it keeps coming back to me. It's like I have my puppy, and if I go to the store with Florida Heat, my remote start is great. It runs 10 minutes. So like sometimes if I get stuck in a line or something, I'm just like, I gotta go. Like it is close. So I'll have to run back outside, make sure she's okay, reset the thing, come back in. I am very good with CAN bus stuff, and I do a lot of hacking from George Hotz's Open Pilot in my Honda Ridgeline. So I want to combine that with LoRa and be able to see and make sure that my vehicle is running, make sure that stuff is engaged, and if anything happens, be alerted. And if I have 2 miles of range to cover with, it's a pretty easy thing to do. For so that's on my to do. I don't know when, but have all the bits and pieces. It's just. And then, like I was saying before, every node grows the network. So, like, don't think of this talk as like me telling you anything specific, like how to do things. Explore, learn about Meshtastic, learn about LoRa in general, play with the other projects. Like I am not tied to Meshtastic. I am tied to humans deserve encrypted communications. So right now, Meshtastic is a great project to meet that need. That could evolve. So play with stuff. If you really want to help the network, get a node, keep it online, update it. Every once in a while, there's breaking changes, and you think you could be helping out by putting a solar node on some roof you can't really access that well, but maybe a breaking change happens, and then all of a sudden you're blackholing. So just as long as you can update, you put the node anywhere. There is over-the-air Bluetooth updates you can do from Android, and I've seen other people set up various other kind of ways to update their node remotely, running it from their compute node like Raspberry Pi or something. And then just educate, prepare others, and essentially this technology is just like ham radio, right? A lot of people are quiet until a lot of people are quiet until disaster or something happens. So if we can learn about it now, learn what it can do, build the network, prepare, then we're ready if something happens. You said you had a question.
Yeah, we have a question
Sure.
from the internet. So this one's from Steve Jabs. The question is, he has a helium miner. He bought out a spike to prove to someone that it was just a Raspberry Pi under the hood. And he won that bet. But it also has a baller.
Yeah.
To be specific.
You probably can repurpose it. You're probably going to need to use, if you go to the Meshtastic Flasher website, there's a whole DIY section. And based on the compute, and the modules that you're using, there's going to be different options there. If it's not something that you can adapt one of those to, you can always make custom. But it sounds like that there's probably something for that. So I would say just check the Flasher website. It was on the previous page. Sorry, it's way back. Flasher.meshtastic.org. It's at the bottom there. Yeah. Check. Should know from there. Cool. What? Yeah.
Some question, maybe.
Them.
Maybe this one could be. Is so I think that with this mesh, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're able to communicate in areas where you weren't able to communicate before. Is there any concern like big like the AT&Ts and the T-Mobiles of the world, right? Like
Not really,
Okay.
honestly. So there's been a couple projects that they're not. I would say they're not from the AT&T type companies of the world that are doing cellular technologies. There's like been Amazon sidewalk style competitors that we're trying to get the band reassigned to them, where you wouldn't be able to use it for these purposes. And it would be proprietary BS. We've successfully been able to fit that. So who knows about what's going to come along in the future? Yeah. I would say that the use case for this is different. It's low bandwidth. You're not downloading YouTube or Netflix or anything else. When you're passing messages across the mesh, you can pass like 27 kilobits of data. So it's like, small, just text, but text data can be a lot. It can do a lot for you. So just a different use case. I'd say if you need something that's data heavy,
Major codes.
huh?
Major codes.
Yeah, SAG and stuff. Well, I was thinking like if you're trying to send data and you want a project or technology that's kind of similar, look into the Wi-Fi Halo, HALOW. It is the new low power, long range Wi-Fi. I think it's good up to a kilometer. And it's slow, but it's faster than stuff like Meshtastic. And it's, it's not creating this niche, it's a different use case. But if you're just like, I need to send data from A to B and I don't have the range, you may be able to get a Wi-Fi Halo board and use that. These are the other projects. I just wanted to mention them. If you get a node dev board that is Honda Civic of node dev boards, like that Hellcat V3 I was showing, or any of the boards, they're supported by a ton of different projects. Two of the big ones are Reticulum and MeshCore. Reticulum can send data, straight data as well, kind of like Halo stuff I was talking about. And MeshCore is more than just messaging, human communications. So, all the projects have different focus, and there's honestly a lot more than just that. Like there's Dorsey's new BitMesh or BitSite, BitChat. That just came out, so that's like using BLE. So BLE is only 40 meters or so of range, but phone to phone, if a lot of people have it, you can still create a pretty big mesh. So, there's a lot of different technologies that are competing right now. And I'd say, honestly, all of them have different use cases. Meshtastic is the one that fits most of my kind of stuff, the emergency and hiking. And then, this is my LinkedIn. If you want to connect, feel free. If you have any questions or just want to reach out for whatever, definitely feel free to hit me up. It's my puppy at Secure Ideas. And then in the room, want to come up, you're definitely welcome to check this stuff out. I'm going to put it on stream for people online, but these are all Meshtastic nodes. Do this so I can.
There's another question for you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was just trying to. Yeah. What was the other question?
It looks like FedEx comment about, so he was trying to
Oh, let me look. I saw Hello World and a couple other messages, but I wasn't paying attention too much.
So you saw the message, you didn't do anything about it?
Well, I was. I'm sorry. Let's see. Someone right now says HackRedCon. So, and then let me see if these radio. I don't know. I charge some stuff, but I don't know what radio is actually on here. This is the old radio from previous DEFCON. Where are you, FedEx? I got Happy Horse Plinko. Nice, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, but we're also in a building, and it's not exactly direct on the site.
So you're saying you need to put an extra
node
right in between, like halfway there.
Yeah. No, that would be perfect.
Yep.
Oh yeah, here.
You're gonna see heavy hacks.
Yeah, I make little like custom nodes, so that's what I made.
That's for happiest hacks on earth,
Are
but
people
it couldn't all fit on
be
there.
filling out and defacing public property by just throwing Meshtastic loans all over the city and just hiding them out every nook and cranny available?
I agree. So the tough thing is balancing access. You need to make sure you have some kind of continued access, so you can update the nodes. Because right now, that's the big thing is if you don't update the node, there's a breaking change. Then,
Hey, Panda.
you know, get interrupted. What's up? I hear you.
So I want to know what's it gonna take for you to teach us how to do a receiver repeated antenna? Because I really have the space and I want to put one here in Winter Park. Because I'm telling you, I love the idea. I receive a message from someone that was traveling to Orlando on a conference. He was on the plane and he threw an actual message on the open channel from the plane, and that's how we start talking. So I just
That's
loved
awesome.
it, but I could not get any other mesh to communicate, even for like um ET and I that physically were not that far from each other, or mesh still cannot see each other.
So, the question here is just asking how he does like a repeater kind of antenna setup. So I would recommend like the Wise Block stuff, the Rack Wise Block series. They're really, really good for that. Get one of the bigger antennas, fixed, and then throw it up high. Like if you can get it up pole, similar to ham stuff, or really any other antennas that you're higher and get but still have access to be able to, at least connect them by Bluetooth and update that way. So yeah, hopefully that helps. If not, just hit me up later. I can we can throw specific recommendations back and forth.
Yeah, I'll hit you up. I really want to put an antenna here as a repeater, and I had the access to space and everything. So
If let's say that you have a node out there that you can't update, right? And you said that create a black hole in the mesh, right? What happens then? What like?
So if it's a solar node, you gotta figure it out and get it somehow. It's still gonna stuff. Breaking changes aren't that common, but they definitely do happen. We were actually talking in the JAX Mesh group about it very recently, like last couple of days, and we were talking about version 3 is probably should be fixed. Bad breaking change. We're just theorizing. We can't really.
How easy is it to update your notes?
So if you're doing over-the-air update, I actually haven't done that. If you're doing USB, it's really easy. You plug it in via USB, and you go to that web flasher and flash from there. Really, really easy. Recommend you keep your node up to date, at least one update a month or so. It's a pretty active project, so you can gain new features. It's always a nice surprise when you get something cool to do. They have the option to go for alpha or beta within that tool. So also DEF CON has their own special Meshtastic flasher. So if you're going to DEF CON this year, you can use their customized flasher, and it's got a couple of presets built in that aren't in the other one. You could just also add them yourself. It's not a huge deal either way. But yeah, it's the over-the-air update with Android. I've heard that it's not bad to use. You connect to a Bluetooth, and then it's within the Meshtastic app. There's the option to do it, and it's supposedly you just select the file, push it.
I was looking for you got to select file.
Yeah, I haven't used it.
Yeah, I tried looking for it. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, just Google like over-the-air update, Meshtastic OTA update, Meshtastic Bluetooth. I'm sure you'll find a guide or something. Use that something on iOS. Yeah. Any other questions or? Yeah.
Thought about, or would be a safe application for children?
What do you mean? Just to have the radio?
Yeah. So like a network goes down, right? So I have kids.
Yeah.
I go through shooter
trains. Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking that I also play music for a festival. The network goes down.
Yeah.
You have kids that are just misplaced or displaced, right? A way for them to know that they can get a hold of you, even if there's disruptions.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of parents. Yeah. And also you can do GPS too. So, say you're out on a hiking trail or camping or whatever, like there's a lot of instances where, they might get away from you, like it's a good way to reconnect. You have 2 miles, you know, so, yeah, anyway, it's great for that. Is there unsafe stuff said on the mesh? Is the other question.
Well, you mentioned channels.
Yeah. So channel wise, you know, are there going to be people messaging them saying stuff? Probably not. I haven't run in, like, the people using this technology right now are very much nerds and ham guys and, you know, people who are earning. I don't know how weird it's going to get, you know, when there's a lot more regular people using the technology. So just keep that in mind. But at the same time, you know, you control the channels that are, so, you know, just make a private channel. Yeah. Well, you would take the primary off of their radios, right, and then just run whatever, you know, private channel you want to, you know, and then you guys can just communicate. So, yeah, super easy to, you know, cut it up however you want, but you gotta just think about what you're doing, what you're after, you know. In that use case, I recommend that. In any other use case, like, so. Any other questions? No, cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming from Jackson.
Yeah, no problem.
I hope we're Mexican.
Figure out this is share.
I hope we're Mexican.
When? No, we don't have to.
Because we have to live here.
Thank you to everyone online.
Yeah, thank you. Wow.